Hey guys, it's Scubulus. Thanks for watching. We're going to try this again. I think that last video was formatted incorrectly, so I'm waiting for the stream to start. Looks like YouTube is seeing my telemetry, and I want to see what that frame looks like in the preview. Yes, okay, that looks like it's quasi-centered. Give me a moment. Sure, that's a little better than what it was. I'm a perfectionist. Try that. Okay, that should be a little better. And I'm waiting for the stream to catch up just to be sure. All right, so this is an overview of my PC. I just did this video. We're going to do a take two on this just because, settings. So let's go over this one more time. I'm probably not going to go into it as in depth as I just did a moment ago, but this is an overview of my gaming rig. This came at a request from a good friend of mine. He says, "Why not show us what you're dealing with?" And well, I've got a 7-year-old platform that is still keeping up with the machines of today. So I figured I'd find a way to make a webcam situation work with my phone and show you what I'm working with here. So this is the desk situation, and I should probably minimize that window. Although I would like to monitor the stream, but that just do it for me for lighting. Okay, so I'm on kind of a green and teal and purple kick here. So the desk is something I picked up at Office Max, and it's a heavy beast. It comes in 3 pieces with the hutch, and it is um, easily 480 pounds for those 3 pieces. It's a heavy boy. It's 70 by 70 by 30. You can still get this over at Office Max, Office Depot, Staples, whatever they're calling themselves this week. I think they're all under one umbrella anyway, and it does not feature a keyboard drawer, but works great for going into a corner like that. I like this desk. It's not really a gamer-centric desk. What I'd really love to have is a Lee and Lee um, computer desk case that has adjustable height on it, where the desk is actually the case for the computer. That would be awesome, but that's just not in the cards for me. That's a $1,500 desk. So there's the chair. This is a Maxnomic Pro Chief TBE. It comes with a lumbar cushion, and I showed this in the other video, but I'm put here because it's too much of a pain and flopping around. Comes with the pillow cushion. It also comes with a lumbar cushion, which I don't have there. But all of the foam in this thing is brand new foam, and you don't see um, any recycled materials in this. The frame is very heavy duty and has a lifetime warranty. Holds people up to 220 pounds. If you're no, I'm sorry. I think it's up to I believe it is 220. If you're heavier than 220, you can buy a special base and cylinder for this for like $80, and it bumps the weight capacity up past 400 pounds. So if you're a big guy, this would be a chair you might want to look into. It holds your weight. The foam is excellent. It's a little tore up over years of use, but I got this back in 2016, 15, I think. Yeah, 2016, I think is when I got this. So it's a 3-year-old chair. I'm sorry to see that this tore up on the front, but otherwise, comfort-wise, it's been a really good chair. So I just didn't moisturize this as well as I probably should have. That's kind of neglected it, but it's definitely as chairs go, this is definitely standing up just a little bit. Got a printer over there. It's just a Canon bubble jet. On the desk, we've got a 28-inch Samsung 4K monitor. It's FreeSync compatible. We're not using AMD cards though. So there's that. And right next to it is the monitor that it replaced, which is a 23-inch Samsung 1080p monitor. I've got this one set at 1440p, and that's really all I ever do. I never really touch 40. It's on an HDMI cable running behind the desk, and this one, I'm sorry, that's on a DisplayPort cable running behind the desk. This one's an HDMI, also running behind the desk. I had to buy a longer cable to make this whole setup work. Underneath that, you see the keyboard, which is a Corsair K95 RGB. It is not the Strafe edition, so it only does the 65,000 colors instead of 16.7 million. You can see I got some effects set up on the typing. That's the EMP profile, and if you watch, turn itself back on with a little bit of a flicker after you're done typing. One of those things. I changed the color to match the desktop profile. Right next to that, we have the Corsair Dark Core RGB mouse. That is a wireless mouse. You can unplug it and use it wirelessly, which is on the bottom of it. They give you that capability. It will do Bluetooth at 2.4 gigahertz. No, I'm sorry, Bluetooth or 2.4 gigahertz. The 2.4 gig wireless is the better way to go. It's much more responsive than Bluetooth. Here's the dongle. It's on an A to C converter. You would plug the cable in down here, and just lay this maybe off on the side of the mouse pad or something while you do the wireless mousing. Step up from this would be one that has the Qi charging capability. If you have a wireless charging mouse pad, which I don't have that kind of money burning a hole in my pocket, so we don't have that. So plug it in, it'll charge. That's fine. For speakers, we're using a 7.1 surround system. There are 3 behind the monitor that you can't see. And this is a very old speaker setup. They're like 15 years old. Subwoofer down there. The wattage output on this is quite ridiculous. I mean, horrific, ridiculous, low number. It's like 75 watts or something. And I'm looking to upgrade this with a Logitech 550 watt 5.1 system. That's much better, but it's 400 bucks. I'm in an apartment. I don't need them to be that loud. I always have headphones. Not an issue right now. In terms of game controllers, I've got the Thrustmaster T16000M, 16 buttons there, 14 buttons on the HOTAS. The HOTAS is giving me a noisy axis on the throttle, so I'm working with them on trying to get the PCB and the USB cable for the inside. Hopefully they'll sell that to me. It's not under warranty anymore, so I wonder if they'll come back with something. And since it's the FCS flight pack, we have rudder pedals as well. And those are connected to this with a connector on the front, which is similar to a phone connector. It's an RJ12 connector. Cables are plenty long. They do a pretty good job. I'm not having problems with anything on this stick except this axis right here. So let's see. Got a UPS down here. Boss man from another job said, make it disappear, and I made it disappear, threw a pair of new batteries in it, and now I've got some time to shut the computer down when a power outage occurs, and it also provides a little bit of surge protection. I know the cable management sucks down there, but that's what I'm dealing with. Let's see, the headset. I'm wearing it. I tried to take it off last time, but that didn't go so well. So it's a HyperX Cloud headset. It's all metal. The ear pads are changeable, so you do a foam pads, the I don't want to say Alcantara, but they're not Alcantara. The cloth or the leather ear pads for noise cancellation. These are really comfortable. They drive pretty well. They have a push to talk, push to mute button, volume control slider, lots of options. You can take these on an airplane with you, F connector or the single to double or whatever you need to plug these into is they have a cable for it and an even longer extension cable. The microphone up here is for streaming. It is a Samson G-Track Pro USB mic. It's a compression mic. It does just great. The audio quality is much better than what you're hearing now. It's on an SP04 shock mount that's specifically for Samson products. It's not rated for use with this device, but there is an adapter on there that does make it work, and it tends to hold up pretty well. That's a scissor mount from Amazon. It's a cheap $20 scissor mount that comes with a shock mount that doesn't fit the mic, even though it was sold in conjunction with this mic, so you still have to put the shock mount on it. It was an expense I didn't need when I bought that. And over here, we come to the heart of the matter. This I call Tuffy Box. It is on a Sabertooth X79 motherboard. That's a really old one. Like I said, it's a 7-year-old system due for updates. It's running an Intel 3930K. Its clock is 3.2 gig. Its turbo is 3.8. It's overclocked to 4.4. It's being cooled by a Corsair H150i. You can see it right up here, this black part right there, right underneath those 3 LED fans. There are 3 radiator fans. See them right behind the LED ones. And that's a 360 millimeter radiator with an RGB. Try and do this without taking the case apart this time. It's got an RGB pump on it, and you can see it right there in between the mesh right there. Right here. See that there. So the original cooler I had on there was a Thermaltake Frio Advance, which is a 140 millimeter push-pull cooler that sits on there. And I could totally have used this, but when you go to water cooling, you have to remember that your power delivery loses the air splash that it would have gotten if you'd left the air cooler on. So you have to find a way to cool that. You got to have plenty of good cooling case, and this one does. Got 2 fans in front. Barely see those there. 3 up top, 1 more in the back. I've got another one behind this hard drive rack right here, which is very difficult to see. You might be able to see it right in there, right here. There's a fan there. And then 2 more doing intake duty down here. And then I used one of those 140 mil fans, provide a little bit of, it's right I know you see the reflection of my hand in here. It's right here. And you can see this doing just generally putting air in the vicinity of the CPU and VRMs and all that. So that's what it's doing. It's a 7-year-old platform. We've got 32 gigs of G.Skill Ripjaw series DDR3 1600 memory in there. For graphics, we're doing right now we're doing a pair of GTX 1070s in SLI. They're fine like that. They originally had the original system build had an ATI XFX R797A Double D Black Edition, so it was factory overclocked, lifetime warranty, 2 fans. I have done nothing but replace fans on those cards. So right now we have the GTX 1070s Founders Edition. They're doing just fine in SLI. These are DirectX 12, where the other ones weren't. In between the two cards, you can't see it because it's such a small PCI Express card, but what is in there now is the Asus AC68 wireless card. It's a Wi-Fi card. It's on one of my PCI Express slots, but it doesn't need to be there because I don't use Wi-Fi. And you can see that because I've got a cable running all the way around the house for wired internet. You can see it there against the wall. And that's connected to the router that's over by the couch in the living room. So that's that. It's there if I need it. I also have a Netgear wireless USB stick with an antenna base to it, so I can put that in there if need be. And right up front here, you see a Sound Blaster Recon 3D Fatality Champion Series. And evidence that it is a Champion Series because it comes with this I/O drive right here that I have my headphones plugged into. It can switch in between headphones and speakers at the press of a button, so I don't constantly have to unplug these. I got this card specifically for that I/O drive because I was having a problem with a case and their headphone jacks, and I just don't want to use these. They're not well grounded. They're not done very well, and they're just never a good idea to use. Let's see, storage underneath the motherboard tray in the back over here, behind here, are 2 Samsung Evo 850s. They're in a RAID 0 configuration. Those comprise my C volume. And that's where all my apps are loaded into. That's my OS drive. And on this hard drive rack right here, there are 2 Western Digital Caviar Blacks at 750 gig each, and they make a total volume size of 1.3. Those Samsungs over there are 1 terabyte each. They make a total of 1.7. And I have a C and a D drive. So all my data is on these drives right here. And they're also in a RAID 0 configuration. So stuff's not quite as fast as NVMe SSD, but that's like retarded fast. But I do get throughput on those Samsungs at about 1,000 MIPS, just under 1,000 MIPS. They're pretty fast compared to spinning drives. They're definitely an upgrade. So what I want to do, originally before I had those Samsungs in there, is I had some of these in here. I have one there and one more in here in the drawer. This is a Western Digital Velociraptor. This is a 10,000 RPM drive. It's a 2.5-inch drive and a 3.5-inch casing. And here is a thing on the outside of it. They call it an ice pack. What's wrong with this drive is, as you can see, this SATA connector right here has its plastic backing on it. You can see the power pins right next to it and do not have a backing on it. That backing has broken off, and the drive is damaged. I need to get another ice pack for it. If I could get a hold of that PCB by itself, that'd be great, because all this is a pass-through. Green PCB here. But I have to buy the entire ice pack to do that. They're about 30 bucks if you can find them. If you can find them in the right configuration for the drive that you have. There's several different variants of that drive, so finding one that fits is a adventure on eBay, shall we say, to find those. They're about 30 bucks, so I want to buy one and put those together as my D drive volume and replace these two drives. They're faster. They are bigger. They're 1 terabyte each instead of 750 each, and they will do a better job of storage and caching and whatever else I need to do. So the whole power supply running the thing is in the other side, underneath the CPU over there, and it's a Corsair RM1000X, and it has a 0 fan speed mode. So if the power supply is cool enough and your power requirements are low enough and it's not drawing a whole bunch of amperage, it will go to a 0 fan mode, and the fan will turn off. So that's not a bug, that's a feature. That's supposed to be like that. All the RGB goodness, these fans are HD 140s by Corsair. They're RGB, like 12 LEDs on each fan. And I also have up top here some LED strips that go along the sides and another pair on the other side doing the exact same thing. You can see them right next to that fan over there. You can see purple back there on a teal and purple kick here. So some new desktop themes to match. So they're being controlled by the Corsair, probably fallen down by now. There's sticky pads on this little module that's dangling in there that won't stick. I've got some Velcro right here that I'm going to put in there next time I rip this thing apart and revamp it so that it'll stick up there a little better. The strips that they gave me don't stick, so it's on a Corsair um, Commander Pro, and then there's an LED hub back there for the 6-fan LEDs, and then there's a Lighting Node Pro on the other side of the case, on the inside to the left side of the fans over in this area right over here. They're running the LED strips. They plug into the USB headers right on the case there on the motherboard tray. So you really need um, two USB headers, but you really only need one because there's another header on this Commander Pro over here that's free, and I think I can daisy chain this all together and make them work the way USB 2.0 goes. All of this is sitting inside of a Thermaltake Core X9 case. I wanted a cube case that had an upstairs and a downstairs this time, and it's got my stock microphone stand on the top because it rattles a little bit, so I used it to quiet it down. Heavy bass. It's in a Core X9 case, and the cooling is pretty good. I've got a lot of fans in here. I've got room for water cooling, as you can see. It's plenty expandable in there. I'm going to do a custom open loop water loop at some point with a nice generous reservoir. That would be one of my objectives moving forward. Will ask why I needed such a big case. I told him I increased the size of my playground. That's truth. That's definitely a big case. Heavy. Oh my God, this machine is well over 60 pounds. And if I fill it full of water, that's more weight to add. It's a monster to pick up and carry it. All the intakes and all the sides that have grating on them like this stuff here, it's all filtered. So all the intakes are filtered, all the exhaust is filtered. I tend to clean this every time I vacuum the house. I take the vacuum over here and suck off all the dust and side of that machine clean as best I can. It's still keeping up with today, guys. I'm still able to use it as a single PC gaming streaming rig, and it does just fine at 60 FPS. So transcoding right now, I'm using one of my GPUs transcode and one to run the game, and it does fine. I mean, the game's not a high end requirement, but it definitely does well, and I have no complaints about it so far. But I'd like to upgrade. It's 7 years old. It's an old platform. I'm looking at the 3900X from AMD. There's some good boards out there, but you can't buy the chips anywhere. They are out of stock everywhere you look, and the people that do have them in stock are price gouging them, and that's a thing, you know. Could I do a 3800X? Yeah, I'd like to do better than 8 cores, though. I'd like to go for 12. I'd like to double my core count. Do that on Intel, you're looking at an HEDT platform and a $1,000 chip. I'm not paying that for. Originally built this rig to go long haul, and it has. That board had a 5-year warranty on it. All the fans were rated for 50,000 hours. Power supply was 80 plus platinum with 6 12-volt rails, and I had to replace it. It was originally an Enermax 1200 watt power supply, and I replaced it with this dying. And replaced the Western Digital drives that I just showed you with the Samsungs because they were broken, and replaced the video cards because they just weren't cutting the mustard. They just weren't performing. Even in Crossfire, they weren't performing. So I upgraded to the NVIDIA cards and lent them my vote, and they have it. They have an expensive card on the market for any of their models, but they deliver. NVIDIA cards do deliver on graphics. Monitor, I'm looking to upgrade this monitor over here, this 28-inch Asus ROG Swift PT27 VQ monitor. It's a $700 G-Sync monitor, and that will do a lot better than this thing is doing, and I'd be able to bump the frame rates up. It's capable of 165 FPS at, I think it's 2 milliseconds response time. It's DisplayPort 1.4. It has a USB 3 hub integrated into it. It's I believe it's got some RGB and possibly some audio input-output as well, so I could definitely make use of some of the features on that device, and I'm looking to get that fairly soon here. Maybe next year. Maybe it's going to be the upgrade I use for my tax return, depending on how this platform upgrade goes for the box. Keyboard is solid. Not even thinking about changing that right now. Joystick, and looking into the X56. I'm having problems with that axis Thrustmaster. My options are buy a part from Thrustmaster if they'll sell it to me, buy a new throttle by itself for 90 bucks, or buy a different brand just to snub my nose at Thrustmaster if they don't support me on this, and go with Logitech's X56. just hit or miss. And so there's options there. That's a little bit of what was, what is, and what will be. That's my rig, guys. 7 years old, but still keeping up today. I'm having some weird stuff going on with the reason I want to upgrade it is I see some weird things going on. I've got the Asus AI suite running in the background, monitoring some sensors, and occasionally I'll get a message in the lower right-hand corner of the screen that says something like motherboard temperature minus 93 degrees centigrade. And I mean, we don't have any LN2 tanks here, guys. We're not doing exotic cooling or anything. We're not doing XOC stuff. We're just doing a mild overclock to the CPU and just uh, running normal day-to-day operations on this machine. And that's not the temperature. So I've got temperature sensors dropping out, and I've also got VID sensors dropping out. So like the same program will tell me that I have my 12 volt at 0 volts. And if I had 12 volts at 0 volts, uh, we wouldn't be having that conversation. The system would shut down and there would be no message. There would be no video. There would be no sound. There would be nothing if my voltage was 0 on my 12 volt rail. So that's inaccurate. So apparently I've got some capacitors or sensors or something going out on this board, and I've thought about refresh. I've thought about a 9900K. I've been looking into some stuff I can get today. I'd be restricted on PCI Express lanes. It would take a big hit when streaming, and I'd really, Threadripper's coming out sometime next month in October. The new third gen Threadripper stuff. So I want to see what high end stuff they have for 650. That would be a nice new chip that hopefully it'll compete with. Um, will outdo its 12 core counterpart for the entry level 16 core stuff. And still be able to game on it. I don't know. That'd be a nice alternative. I'd like to have the HED stuff with 64 PCI Express lanes. That would be awesome for expandability later on. So those are some options. I just don't want to go broke putting a computer together and only to have to do it again 5 to 7 years later. But like I said, so far this thing has really put up with the test of time, and it's still keeping up in terms of games. It runs everything at 60 FPS with no problems. I'm running games like Hitman 2 is using the engine to do the legacy missions as well. Flight Simulator is still a struggle. It always will be. It does gaming and streaming, Elite Dangerous, at 1080p 60 with only a minor frame rate drop. There's a little bit of slugging along in there when we get near stations and high poly assets, but most part it pushes 1080p 60 with problems. I'm using one of my GPU transcode and the other one to run the game, and it does just fine. So I've had very few complaints, and it transcodes the audio just as well using OBS Studio with the live plugin, OBS Live plugin from Streamlabs. And it does just fine, guys. It's keeping up with everything else that I'm able to throw at it with very few problems, very few complaints. So I'm not in a big hurry to do the upgrade, but it's coming soon. So let me know in the comments what you think. If you want to watch any live streams, I'm on Twitch as Scoobulous, same name as on YouTube. If you miss one of my live streams on Twitch, you can also come back here. YouTube channel is where I store the VODs for long-term archival. They only stay for 2 weeks on Twitch, so I put all of my streams here after I'm done streaming. So you can see that in the video collection below. Hopefully this will turn out to be a VOD as well. It will be available for viewing for anybody that missed it. So Doc, if you're watching, that's the hardware. And this is a look at Scoobulous Gaming Rig. So once again, I have been your host, Scoob. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned. Hope to see you again soon.